Welcome back to Mimi's Organic Eats. Today we're making pumpkin spice marshmallows with no corn syrup and no eggs. These easy homemade marshmallows are so much better than store-bought, and they have all the fall vibes with the addition of pumpkin spice. Let me show you guys how to make them. So you guys are going to need a stand mixer with a whisk attachment to make these homemade pumpkin spice marshmallows without corn syrup. And now if you guys only have a hand mixer, you can use that as well, but it's gotta mix for a little while, so it just takes a little bit longer with the hand mixer and you have to stand there and hold it the whole time. So I don't always recommend that one. If you guys have a stand mixer, use that instead. Next, we're gonna add 22 grams of grass-fed gelatin to the bowl of our stand mixer. Next, we're gonna add in half a cup of cold water. Then you wanna immediately mix that with a spoon. This is going to ensure that the gelatin and water are completely combined and the gelatin doesn't just clump. And then we're gonna let this bloom for a few minutes. So while the gelatin is blooming for a few minutes, we're gonna make up our sugar mixture. So I have 454 grams of cane sugar in my 3-quart pot. Now we're going to add in our honey. And I'm using honey in place of corn syrup, which is going to give a very similar texture to traditional marshmallows, but no corn syrup at all. Honey is a wonderful substitution for corn syrup in pretty much anything, and it's gonna give these pumpkin spice marshmallows the best flavor. So we're gonna add 312 grams of honey to the pot with the sugar. Next, we have half a cup of warm water. Next, we're adding in 1 teaspoon of pumpkin spice mix. And then last, we have half a teaspoon of salt. Now we're gonna put this over medium-high heat. Then you wanna stir the mixture together with a spatula to ensure everything is combined completely. You don't wanna have any bits of just sugar because that can burn on the bottom of the pot. Then we're gonna continue to cook on medium-high heat, stirring occasionally. As soon as the mixture starts to boil, it will start to rise up. The minute that it starts to rise up from the pot, then you wanna remove it from the heat. Now we're just going to pour this mixture over the gelatin. Now we're going to mix this on low. Then you want to stand over your mixer and gradually increase the speed as soon as the mixture starts to thicken. Keep increasing the speed as the mixture turns from a light opaque color to a more brighter white color. And it's not going to be perfectly white because we have pumpkin spice in these marshmallows, but the mixture will turn from a liquid into a really thick marshmallow fluff-like consistency. This whole process is going to take about 10 minutes. So when your marshmallow fluff is super thick, just like this, then you know it's done. You want to look for when you drizzle, it's not going to melt back into the rest of the fluff right away. That is the sign that it's ready. So once your marshmallows are ready, now it's time to grab a 9 by 13 inch baking pan and line it with parchment paper. And as you can see, I've used little binder clips on the sides here. This is gonna help the parchment paper from folding into the marshmallows as they set overnight. So if you have those, it's super helpful. And then next we need to grease this baking pan so that these marshmallows don't stick. Even though we're using parchment paper, we still have to grease it. And now I've made this homemade marshmallow recipe at my bake shop for over a decade, and we have tried greasing this with so many different things, but my #1 pick is going to be a cooking spray. And now I don't usually use cooking sprays, but for the marshmallows, this is crucial, you guys. So I'm using Chosen Foods. It's just a plain avocado oil cooking spray, so it doesn't have any bad stuff in it. You guys can use an olive oil cooking spray as well, but it's key to have something that sprays that can coat the pan completely. And you wanna do this right before you're about to pour the marshmallows in. Don't do it before and let it sit for a few minutes, then the oil is just gonna pool in there. That would be similar to if you were to just use an actual oil to grease it. That's why I don't like doing that. So using the spray is gonna be the best option, and you wanna spray it right before we're gonna pour the marshmallows in. So once your pan is sprayed, now it's time to just pour the marshmallows into the pan. Now you wanna let these marshmallows set overnight, and this is going to be the hardest part. So just leave them out on the countertop. You wanna leave them in just a cool, dry place. No need to store them in the fridge or anything, just leave them right out at room temperature. And then I'll meet you back here tomorrow and we'll dump these marshmallows out and cut them into squishy little pieces. So once your marshmallows have set overnight, then we're gonna grab a half sheet pan and you wanna line it with parchment paper. Parchment paper is super important because we don't want these marshmallows to stick. And then we're gonna sift powdered sugar all over the parchment paper. The powdered sugar is what's going to coat these marshmallows. This is gonna help prevent them from sticking together because they're going to be very sticky once we cut them into squares. So if you're familiar with traditional store-bought marshmallows, the ones that don't have the best ingredients, they have like a shell around them. As you notice, the marshmallows don't stick to each other in the bag. So we're creating this naturally and organically just with a little bit of powdered sugar. And you just want a nice little coating, just enough to cover the parchment paper. And now it's time to take the marshmallows out of this pan. So as someone who's made these marshmallows for over a decade at my bakery, I have a couple tricks for you guys for removing these marshmallows with ease. Coat your hands in a little bit of powdered sugar. This is gonna help before you touch the marshmallows. So the first trick I'm gonna share with you guys is you wanna pull the marshmallow away from the pan on the side that the parchment paper isn't touching it. So that's gonna be these two sides right here. So you just want to take your finger and just gently pull the marshmallow away from the pan. So I like to do this because that means that I know the marshmallows aren't going to be stuck to the pan in any way, so that when I try to get them out, we're not going to get like a part that's going to be stuck and then they're going to rip. So now we're just going to turn these marshmallows over on top of the powdered sugar that's on the parchment paper, and they should come out really easily. And as you can see, we had no issues with these coming out because we had pulled the sides of the marshmallows from the pan, so we knew nothing was going to stick. Now we're just gonna pull off the parchment paper. Now that we have our marshmallows out of the pan, we're gonna sift more powdered sugar on top to do a nice even coating. And so you guys wanna make sure you're sifting the powdered sugar when you're putting it over the marshmallows. This is because it's gonna make it super fine and you're not gonna get any clumps. If you get like a big lump or clump of powdered sugar, it's really not gonna do anything for us here. We want this super fine powdered sugar. That's what's gonna coat these marshmallows completely. We're not trying to coat them in sugar. We're just trying to coat them so they don't stick to each other. So we just wanna use a little bit. And now it's time to cut the marshmallows. And this was always my favorite part of making marshmallows when I had my bakery. Cutting them is just like the funnest thing ever. And so you guys can use a sharp knife, but my top trick for this is using a pizza cutter. This is actually going to be so much faster and so much easier than using a knife. This is how we did it at my bakery and it saved us so much time. So we're gonna cut these marshmallows into 24 large squares. And the large squares are gonna be perfect for making a homemade s'mores or like one big marshmallow in your hot chocolate. And then if you guys wanna make mini marshmallows, you can cut each of those marshmallows into 4s. And then once you guys cut the marshmallows into the 6 strips, you want to make sure that you coat the sides of them in the powdered sugar. This is going to ensure they don't stick while we keep cutting. And now we're going to cut each of these 6 strips into 4 pieces. So now you have big, squishy, fluffy marshmallows. If you guys want to make these into mini mallows, just cut these squares into 4. These homemade pumpkin spice marshmallows have no corn syrup and no eggs. You guys can use these homemade pumpkin spice marshmallows in hot chocolates, to make s'mores, pretty much anywhere that you would use traditional marshmallows. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like and leave a comment below. And if you want more organic recipes just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join me next time in the kitchen.